So today we're doing a PS4 collection video, because there's like none of those on YouTube whatsoever. And by none, I mean there's probably like thousands. So anyway, I recorded the second part of this video first. It's a top-down view where you'll see me like showing a close-up of the game, talking about it, so on and so forth. Didn't realize I was going to be doing it that long, so this is going to be a lengthy video. But there's one game that I do have that you're not going to see, which is Psychonauts 2, because I literally just bought that, and I bought off Amazon, hasn't even shipped yet. But for the most part, I got everything I want for the PS4. I still want to get like the Resident Evil 4 remake, Judgment, the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters, a few odds and end things, but whatever. But that's enough of the intro. So I'm just gonna switch views here, or switch clips, and let's get into it. So just for reference, I'm going in alphabetical order. First up, I have A Whole New World, which is a like 8-bit inspired game along the lines of like Shovel Knight. It's really interesting because you have this like, there's no holes to fall in. If you go down a hole, which would normally be like death, you'd actually come out upside down and it'd be like a parallel world. And I like these like retro style games, but there are a lot, but this was one that really stood out to me. Alien Isolation. I'm not really big into the Alien franchise, but I do like my survival horror games. And I very much like the idea of something chasing you. Like, that's like the one thing that I find scary, quote unquote. I did hit a glitch in this game that prevented me from going forward. So I had to reload an older save from like a few hours prior. And you have to do something before a certain point. Otherwise, you will not be able to progress forward. I'm sure some people, or I know there's people out there that have also experienced that glitch, but it's kind of frustrating, but yeah. So we have, yes, I have more. That's upside down. No, it's not. Wait a minute. What was I looking at? Anyways, so the Assassin's Creed series. This is, I like Assassin's Creed, but it does get the yearly games start to wear on you, at least for me. I kind of got wore out around Assassin's Creed 3, but Black Flag very much felt like it tried to do something different with the naval combat and sailing around the oceans to explore. And I like that one. That's one of I'd say this is my favorite. But then Syndicate comes out, and it's fine. It's just more Assassin's Creed. And then Origin comes along. It feels like a completely different game. It doesn't feel like they're just copying and pasting with that, because they actually tried to do, like, kind of like rebuild it from the ground up. But then Odyssey comes along, and it's like, yeah, it's just more Origin, but with the sailing boats from Black Flag. I do not have Unity because that game was a glitchy mess. And then what else was there? Yeah, I kind of stopped at Odyssey. I never got Valhalla. Mirage is about to come out. I don't think I'm going to get that. Overall, I think I'm done with Assassin's Creed. Maybe at some point down the line, I'll get Valhalla for like $5 or something. And we'll see how Mirage goes. I don't know. But for the most part, I'm just kind of over the whole Assassin's Creed series. As good as it is, it's kind of too much of a good thing. There's another game series we'll talk about here shortly that does the same thing. Assault Suit Lenos. I apologize for the glares. Dropping my games. Apologize for the light glare. This is a remake of a Sega Genesis game. I think it's called Front Mission Earth, I think. I don't remember what it's something like that. Uh Regardless, it's a remake of a Sega Genesis game. It is a like side-scrolling like mech game. It's fun. Um Not like my favorite game in the world, but it does the job. Like for like 10-20 bucks, you can't beat it. I mean, actually, I think I looked it up in the Sega Genesis version. The Sega Genesis version wasn't too expensive, I don't think. At least that's when I looked it up. Arkham Asylum. Or not Asylum. The one on the thing. Arkham Knight, yeah. I like the Arkham games. Asylum is my favorite because these are straight up like Metroidvania style games. But I don't like how City and Night, which I'm looking at, I don't like how those ones had more of an open world. I prefer how Arkham Asylum was more like contained in a smaller area. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. I just prefer the first one. I don't remember Origins now that I'm thinking about it. I know it was a prequel, but it's just one of those games that you just play it and then you move on. Bloodborne is one of my favorite PS4 games. Dark Souls 3 was my first game. This was my second game. I don't know what to say. It's just a Souls game. It's awesome. I very much my favorite, the thing I like most about this over all the Souls games is the fact that all the weapons have like an alternate use. The weapon that I wanted to get was the scythe, but then I was like, oh, I gotta beat the final boss to get that. And so, and fun fact, I actually skipped the first boss in this game. Like I took like a long pathway around and wound up fighting the second boss, the hunter. I forget his name. It's been years since I've played it. But I do want to go back and play this at some point. I do want a Bloodborne 2. Whether or not we'll get that, I don't know. But yeah, Bloodborne is... I might put that in my top 10, if not top 20 PS4 games. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. This is a like spiritual successor to Symphony of the Night on PS1. I liked it, but I prefer the Castlevania, like Symphony of the Night, the Game Boy Advance trilogy and the DS trilogy over this. There's nothing wrong with it. Just I prefer the Castlevania Metroidvanias. And while I'm on the subject of Bloodstained, I actually prefer the Curse of the Moon games, which I have on the Switch. The only reason why I have this on here and not Switch with the rest of them is because the Switch version has some like technical or graphical issues or something where it doesn't run as well as the PS4 and Xbox One versions. So I'm like, I'll keep the Symphony of the Night sequel on a PlayStation console. I'll keep the like NES style games on the Nintendo console because that's kind of how it was back in the day. If that made sense. I have not played this game in forever. It is a single player game. You control the two brothers. The left thumbstick is one of them and the right thumbstick is the other. It's more of an adventure puzzle game, if I remember correctly, where you just try to traverse your way through the environments and solve the puzzles to get to the end. Not like anything amazing, but I picked it up on the cheap, and it's like it was worth it. I recommend it if you can find it. Who else? What else did they make? They made something. I think they? Wait a minute. I think they went on. Don't quote me on this. I'm saying this off the top of my head, but I think they went on and made A Way Out, and then It Takes Two. I think, because this does have that like co-op feel. Yeah, look into it because I'm too lazy to do it, but I think they went on to make It Takes Two. You know where this is going. Infinite Warfare. So, like I was saying with Assassin's Creed, I apologize for the glare. So I mainly play the Call of Duty games for the campaigns. Some of them are good, some of them not so much. Not so much. I kind of dropped off. I wasn't big into the multiplayer, but I kind of dropped off around like Black Ops Modern Warfare 3-ish era. But in terms of I do enjoy all the single player campaigns, but like where is it? I lost it. Oh, it's right in front. So I don't need to talk about this one. This was the Call of Duty that kind of put it on the map, or put the series on the map. And when this came out, I didn't realize they had redone the graphics from the ground up. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I need it. I need to get it because it's a different version of the game. And this is one of the better single players. Advanced Warfare. I actually liked the campaign in this one. It was kind of like, it wasn't super over the top, but it was slightly like sci-fi enough to scratch an itch without going too far. Like this one, where it's like, what do we do now? We're out of ideas. Space. I mean, it's enjoyable to play, but I couldn't even tell you what the hell happened in this game. Speaking of what the hell happened, this one was really over the top. I remember there being a segment at the end where there's like enemies on the wall in the ceiling, and you're in this like distorted area. I enjoyed it because it was like not realistic, but this is the game that kind of really started to veer off the realistic war theme. And then you have Ghosts. No, but seriously, Ghosts, it was okay. Ended on a cliffhanger. You know. But, with all the Call of Duty games, they are fun to a certain extent. But like I said with Assassin's Creed, it's the same thing, different story. Like, they don't change enough to make it justifiable. Castlevania Requiem. It has Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood. I believe Rondo of Blood was originally only released on the TurboGrafx? ? I think. I don't. This game, there was a remake of Rondo of Blood on the PSP. It was called. What was it called? I think the Dracula X Chronicles. I had to look. It was behind me. But it had a remake of this on it, and Symphony of the Night was unlockable. So this is like the same basic game. I mean, Castlevania. Symphony of the Night is one of my favorite Castlevanias, but Rondo of Blood I don't really care for much. Crash 3. the other one. I was never super big into Crash back on the PS1. I only ever had the third one back in the day, but I did later pick up the... That is horrible there. I later did pick up the first two, and then this came out. The fourth one is, I think, my favorite. Like, it's just a damn good game. They did... before I get too far... They did an excellent job with the remakes on these. And then I love how they like ignored all the other Crash games that came out after 3. And they're like, yeah, those aren't canon. This is. And they even like reference that in the game. Where they're like, didn't you do this more than once? Or more than 3 times? And they're just like, no. But yeah, this in my opinion is the best Crash game, but the other ones like the Wrath of Cortex and Twin Sanity, those two are pretty good. But the some of the, like the Mind Over Mutants or whatever the hell it is, I didn't even touch that. Like, I don't know. These ones are awesome. And then we get to this one. I've played this and I played the original on the PS1. I mean, I don't care for the Crash Team Racing games. I'd rather just have Mario Kart. I don't know. I don't like the way this one controls. Something about it's just weird. I can't really place my finger on it. Speaking of not placing my finger on it, Darius Burst, Chronicle Savior, or CS Chronicle Savior, or Chronicle Savior CS. I don't know how you want to pronounce it. This is a shmup game. The Darius series is pretty long. I don't want to say long lasting. They got a lot of games. I'll just leave it at that. It's just, you know, it's a side-scrolling game. You got a ship, shoot the enemies, avoid the bullets. A lot of those blend together for me. This is one of those that blend in. Moving on. So, the Souls games. Like I said, Dark Souls 3, and that's got the horrible blur. I'm sorry. Dark Souls 3 was my first game, and it's my favorite. And then Bloodborne was my second, and that's my second favorite. And then I played Demon Souls and Elden Ring. And then I finally go back and play the remastered of the first one. Not my favorite, just because it's like an older, less polished game. Have yet to play 2. I'm scared to play that because I heard that one's like the black sheep of the series. But yeah, I've never expected to be a Souls fan. They're punishing, but they're fair. And if you're new to them, they are it's very entertaining to go on YouTube and watch people play a Souls game for the first time. And when they get their ass kicked, they're like, what the fuck? It's so funny. All right. While I'm on the subject of Souls, Darksiders 3, not 2, 3. I liked the first Darksiders because it was like a God of War Zelda clone. Second one, I didn't really care for. This one, it felt like it tried to be like Dark Souls, but without the difficulty. It had the whole mechanic of when you die, you lose your souls, and then you gotta go get them again, which is fine. I don't know. I wish they would have stayed with the mechanics of the first game and kept it Zelda God of War ish. I remember I got this for like $5, brand new. It was during COVID when people were trying to sell things to make money. Now here's a game. A game I actually like. Point-and-click adventures. This one is very strange. I mean, the name alone should give it away. It's very cartoony. You're just trying to stop a purple tentacle from taking over the world, and you have to go back in time. But then the time machine gets all messed up, and you got one of the characters going to the future, the other one goes in the past, and the other one's stuck in the present. And the items you get to solve puzzles, you have to like send through the time machine so that the other people can pick them up and use them. It's got some very strange puzzles in there too, like one where you got to put a hamster in a microwave. You got to put him in the microwave in present time, and then in the future you got to go get him because it takes that long to thaw out. I think. No, something like that. It's been a while since I played it. I don't remember. Days Gone. I see a lot of like mixed opinions on this game. I actually enjoy it. It is an open world zombie game. And that's its problem, is it's like super, it just looks super generic. But it's actually a well-made game. The story, still feels kind of generic, but the problem is that it doesn't really do anything to stand out from other zombie or open world games. And unfortunately, they're probably not going to make another one, and it ended on a cliffhanger. But if you can find this on the cheap, pick it up, because it's like a 30-hour game just for like the main story. This world comes for you. But yeah, there's actually some really interesting moments in that. Dead or Alive 6. I honestly, I don't know what to say. I don't really have much to say about Dead or Alive. I'm not into that many fighting games, but this is one of the few series that I am into. I don't really know why. I do like it. That's really all I have to say. I don't know what else to say. Devil May Cry 5. Honestly, this is probably my favorite Devil May Cry game. I don't know. This one kind of felt like they took out some of the puzzle elements and focused more on making it a hack and slash, which is fine. But honestly, I don't know where I was going with that. It's fine, I guess. I don't know. Doom and Doom Eternal. So, I played the original Doom back in the day, and, you know, I liked it. These games are good. To me, it got kind of monotonous after a while, because the whole thing is they're just throwing like wave after wave after wave of enemies at you, and it didn't really feel like there was any kind of like break in between it. It just felt like it just kept going. But Doom Eternal switched that up a little bit with like trying to have some environment traversal with like climbing walls, and I think there was like a grappling hook if I remember correctly. I like to have some things to break up the monotony rather than just a kill wave after wave after wave after wave of enemy. To me, these are better in short bursts rather than playing through like 10 to 15 hour games, just because of the amount of enemies that you're killing with nothing to break up the monotony. At least, with Halo, for example, you're going down a hallway or whatever, fighting enemies, then you go outside, I'll get in a tank. So you're driving a vehicle, and you're still killing enemies, but it changes up how the game plays, whereas this is just like, just keep going till you kill everything. I kind of have that problem with Borderlands 2, or Borderlands also, I should say, where it's just like, it's just so many enemies coming at you. It's like, give me something else to break up the monotony. And I know that's probably getting monotonous hearing me say monotony. Don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on the games or anything. I do love them. I just don't love them as much as other people. Like I said, I'm not big into fighting games, but this one very much caught my attention because it looked super fast paced. I played some of the Budokai games on PS2, but this one just felt like it's like it made it look like the anime where it's like fast paced action. And the thing I do appreciate about this over like most other Dragon Ball Z games is it's not retelling the story from the anime. It has its own flippin' story. Dragon Quest Builders, and I'll just throw these up here too. Scoot over. The Dragon Quest Hero games. So Builders is an obvious like Minecraft-esque game. And these two are like crowd-based, I think they're called crowd-based hack and slashes where like Dynasty Warriors or Hyrule Warriors, where it's just like there's just hundreds of enemies on the screen and you just keep killing them and doing whatever the game tells you to do for side objectives. These are probably some of my least favorite warrior games. Just because of I'll get back to that in a second. Dragon Quest Builders is it's actually like a combination between like Minecraft and like a Link to the Past style Zelda because it's kind of top down. It's a really interesting combination. And you know, with Minecraft, you kind of can just do whatever you want. But this game actually has like a story to it. And my one problem with this is it's separated into like 4 worlds, and you do the first world and then you go to the next one, and it's like you have to just rebuild everything from scratch again. So that's my only real problem with this. But getting back to what I was saying about these, is why they're like my least favorite. I don't know what it is about the Dragon Quest series. Something about it is just like doesn't click with me. Like it's almost like my brain sees it as like too kid friendly. I don't know. I feel like it should have more seriousness to it or something. And the music's good, but I can't stand it. It's like too like happy-go-lucky for me. Like I don't know. Duke Nukem 3D Tour. I played the original Duke Nukem games back on DOS. Yeah, DOS, like the side-scrolling ones. And then I played Duke Nukem 64, and then I picked this one up because it was like a GameStop exclusive. And I was kind of like, well, if it only sold at GameStop, maybe it's gonna make it like worth something at some point, but it's not. That's whatever. I still like Duke Nukem. Evil Within 1 and 2. These are kind of like spiritual successors of Resident Evil. I think it's got I think the producer or main guy that worked on Resident Evil worked on these. I don't know, there's some kind of connection. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Anyways, they're basically kind of Resident Evil 4-esque. I don't remember the first one like at all, but the second one, I like the second one more because it's every time I turned around, it's like, what the hell am I going to run into now? The first one, I actually ran into a glitch where an enemy that was trapped inside a barn wouldn't come out, and I couldn't figure out what the problem was. So I ended up restarting the level and playing through it. And then something happened where he triggered and came out. I don't know. But good games. Pick them up on the cheap if you can find them. All right. Another yearly franchise. Or was yearly. They kind of backed off. I actually started with Far Cry Instincts on the Xbox. And I very much like second one I didn't like. Or well, I liked I can't talk. I liked Instincts, liked Evolution, didn't care for Far Cry 2, liked Far Cry 3. Far Cry 4 was okay, it was just more of the same. I actually like Primal because it was a little different. Because it wasn't like you didn't have guns. And Far Cry 5 is like my least favorite. I don't know. By this point, you know, from 3 onward, it's been like the same thing. Same basic thing like every game. Where it's like the open world. Fucking you go take out outposts and climb radio towers, blah blah blah. Like I like them, but they just like Assassin's Creed and just like Call of Duty, it was a yearly thing. It's like, here's the same game, do it again. I did not pick up New Dawn because it was like the same world as this. That and I got kind of burnt out by that point, and I haven't touched Far Cry 6 yet. I will eventually, but for now, I stick with these. I do like these games though. The thing I like most about Primal out of all of them is there is like a caveman or whatever they are, Neanderthal or whatever they are in that game. Anyways, he's like a straight up like redneck, and none of the characters speak English because it takes place in fucking the Stone Age. So you got a redneck caveman that you can't understand. Like, look it up on YouTube. I can't remember the guy's name, but it is so funny. And the thing with that guy is every mission he had you go on resulted in him getting hurt because of his own stupidity. It was funny. It's weird how they can make a game that with characters you can't understand be funny. I don't know. Yep. Here we go. Oh, it worked. Hold on. Is that upside down? It is upside down. Yeah, because you know what that one is. So, when it comes to Final Fantasy, I prefer the old school turn-based. 10 is one of my favorites. I know it's very linear compared to all the previous ones before it, but that didn't bother me. I very much enjoy the story and the characters and all that nonsense, and I like the combat system in that. 10-2, I didn't care for. I didn't like the Charlie's Angel vibe, and I was also kind of disappointed that it had a different combat system. I thought because that was an actual sequel, it was going to have the same type of combat, but it didn't. So I was kind of disappointed. I mean, I still liked it, but I'm going to go back to 7. 12, I haven't actually played through yet. That one, from what I have played, though, I mean, when I say I haven't played it yet, I've got like maybe an hour or 2 into it. It is kind of like Xenoblade in a way with its combat where it's somewhat automated and you just like they just keep attacking until you tell them to do something else. So I have to like actually give it a go, but I don't really have much to say about it because I haven't got that far into it. 15 isn't a bad game. It feels more like Kingdom Hearts than it does like Final Fantasy. It's an open world hack and slash. I didn't care for the like whole. I didn't care for the story. I didn't care for the characters. I mean, the game was fun, but it felt so far off from a Final Fantasy. Like it kind of turned me off. However, Final Fantasy VII is my favorite PS1 game and favorite Final Fantasy game. This is my favorite PS4 game. I like this game for what it is. I wish they didn't call it remake. I wish they would have called it reimagine. It's Final Fantasy VII Reimagined because it's not a remake. A remake would have been a turn-based RPG. And this one tries to go in a different direction with the story. Like, that's the only thing I didn't like was with the whispers. If they would have left them out, I would have been fine with it. But I like it for what it is. And I feel like, even though this is a hack and slash like 15, I feel that like they ironed it out in this game. Like, this was like almost like a test, and this was like the polished game. No, I don't want to restart my computer. Remind me tomorrow. My computer wants to update. And then we get into this. What is this, you might be asking? It is the collector's edition for Final Fantasy Type 0. I don't like this game. I finished it. It is a like remaster or remake of a PSP game that we didn't get. I just didn't care for it. It's about a bunch of high school, or not high school, but like a bunch of kids in like a school where they're like learning to become soldiers or whatever. Very like anime, generic anime or Harry Potter-esque, I guess, where they're learning how to fight at a school. And I don't know. I just didn't get into it. I would rather play 15 than that. Not that it's a bad game. Like, see, I'm fine with this being, like, this is a spin-off. This is a main game, or somewhat. Like, this is a main game. If you want to do something different, make it a spin-off, like Final Fantasy Tactics or Type 0. But if you're going to do a main game, you know, keep it what it's supposed to be, a turn-based RPG. That same thing kind of applies to Resident Evil, but we'll get there when we get there. I got like a pile of games on the floor. I got a long way to go. I'm only in F. Let's throw these up here. Yeah, you can totally tell what that is, right? So, I have stuff falling over. So, Fury is essentially a bunch of boss fights. I really don't know how to describe the game. It's like super artsy. Just look up the game. I legitimately, I can't think of a way to explain it. It's like a hack and slash bullet hell style game. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of like Nier Automata in a way. But honestly, I don't know how else to explain it. It's such a weird game. Geometry Wars, this is actually kind of similar. It's just like a top-down shooter. But this one specifically, the original was a top-down shooter. This one is more like, you got like a full like sphere or object to traverse on, and you're just trying to kill the enemies that are on there. It's more of an arcade style game. Just try to get the highest score. Moving on. Don't you like my explanation for some games? I'm just gonna throw these two out here, even though they're like not the same game. You know what? Because it's right here as well. Kind of, you can't even see God of War. Holy shit. There. So, now you can't see Horizon. So anyway, these are like, so 3 of Sony's like big open world AAA games. God of War is God of War. It's a hack and slash. I still prefer Greek mythology over Norse. I mean, this one's very much improved what God of War was, but 3 is always going to be my favorite just because of how over the top it was. And I do like how all the like major plot twists were thrown right at the end. I was one of those people that was really hyped for Horizon because it was so different looking. You know, with the freaking robotic dinosaurs like in a post-apocalyptic world. It was so weird looking. I think I hyped it up too much because I like it, but I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. And I've yet to play Forbidden West because I've been waiting for a price drop. Because I don't want to pay $70 for a friggin' brand new game. I don't know why I turned it over. But yeah, I still really like the game. I think I just overhyped myself with it. Ghost of Tsushima. Blah, blah, blah. I wish Sucker Punch would go back and make Sly Cooper. Like, nothing against this game, but I want Sly Cooper. I like mascot platformers. I like this game more than I thought I would. I almost got turned off because of the fact that you couldn't lock on to enemies. But, like, after a certain point, I found out that it was an option you could turn on, and that made the game, like, much more better for me. I don't really care for the whole, like, samurai story vibe. Like, I prefer things that are more, like, super fictional like this rather than something that's more based in, like, real-time, real-world stuff. I like full fantasy fiction sci-fi shit. Then we get to Gravity Rush 2, which is one of those games. This game is super weird. Like, I have the first game on the Vita. I'd like to get the remastered version for PS4, but it's, like, expensive. I don't even know how to explain this game. It's the main mechanic of it is you can change the direction of the gravity, which essentially makes it like you fly. And it's this weird, like, kind of open world game. It kind of gives me, like, you can't see shit. It kind of gives me, like, Crackdown vibes, like Crackdown from Xbox 360 to a certain extent. The best thing I could do is just say look up a video for this game. It's a very, like, niche game. Like, you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. Love or hate. This game is actually not that bad. I played all the way through it. It's a 3D platformer. It's kind of janky in some areas, but it's actually not that bad. I can't remember anything about it because, I mean, it's a licensed game. But if you're looking for some obscure 3D platformers, get Ice Age. Scrat's Nutty Adventure. So, lovely. While I'm on the subject of Sucker Punch and Sly Cooper, I very much like the Infamous games. I like the first one the most because of the, like, story. This one was good. I don't really have any complaints about it. It was an early PS4 game. Definitely play it. I mean, it's very much, the whole series is very much like almost like your superheroes because you get powers. Like the original game, like you got powers from like an explosion or something. This, they didn't really explain how you got powers, and you have, like, they advertised it as having fire powers, but you get other powers like neon and video and stone. I don't know. They didn't really dive into that. I'm assuming his power is that he can copy other people's powers. I don't know. Killzone is a very I feel that the game's either good or not that great. And this is one of those ones that's not that great. I think 3 is probably my favorite, and I actually like Killzone Mercenaries on the Vita. I'm not super big into the Killzone games. I couldn't tell you what happened in any of them. And this one, I just like the rest. I don't remember a damn thing. It wasn't bad. But there's better first-person shooters on there on the PS4. Like Call of Duty. I'd rather play the bad Call of Duty games than Killzone. Just Cause 3 was... I never played the first 2, but Just Cause 3... Prop it up so there's no glare. Killzone... Just Cause 3. It is another open world game. I do like the grappling hook and, like, parachute and wing glider combo they have. So you're just, like, constantly, like, flying through the air and grappling onto things. And it's just kind of like you have certain objectives you have to do. Like you go to an area and you have to destroy all the red objects and just create like as much explosions as possible. Um, it's been forever since there's a lot. I've played through a lot of these games and I don't remember a lot of them because they kind of blend together after a while. But there was something about like a dictator in this, and you had to try to stop him. Don't remember this one at all, aside from the fact that there's tornadoes in it. There's one time where a tornado just like spawned right where I was at, and everything started flying everywhere. I was like, "What the fuck's going on?" I turn around. Oh, there's a tornado. Lovely. They're a very entertaining game because they're over the top, but the story isn't like super memorable for me. Speaking of stories, you know where I'm going with this one. I like Kingdom Hearts. I don't like Glares. Alright, it's better. I like Kingdom Hearts. 1 and 2 are still my favorites. 3's good. Like, they're all good to a certain extent, but fucking 1, 2, and Birth by Sleep, in my opinion, are the best ones. I didn't like the familiar concept in Dream Drop Distance, or like the quote unquote Pokemon aspect. I mean, they're you probably know what Kingdom Hearts is at this point. I don't really have to get into depth with them. I was kind of disappointed with the lack of Final Fantasy reference in the later games, specifically 3. And then we get to this one. I actually really liked Melody of Memory. It is by no means like a normal Kingdom Hearts game. But like my biggest complaint with all the Kingdom Hearts games is that you have to play all of them to understand what's going on. If you skip one thing, or if you skip one game, you're going to be missing out on like major plot points. And like, I didn't play the ones on the cell phone. I don't remember what the hell they're called. Actually, they might be on here. Where are they? What are they called? Coded, blah, blah, blah. Where the fuck is it? Kingdom Hearts Cross back cover. Yeah, like... that's the story is just like all over the place. I understand it, but trying to explain it is probably harder than me understanding it. So I'm like not even halfway yet. I'm gonna start speeding it up a little bit. I didn't realize I was gonna be sitting here rambling as long as I did. I was like, oh, I'll just do a collection video. Nah. So this is another point and click adventure, kinda, sorta. It's a remake of an old PC game. I don't want to say remake. It's more like just a new... A reboot. That's what I was looking for. It starts off as a point and click adventure, but as the game progresses, it just becomes more about like generic puzzles. It was fun. Worth it, I guess, if you can find it for like $5-10. A lot of people didn't like Knack. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. It was more of a tech demo to show off like how many objects the PS4 can have on screen at once. It's a action platformer. It really was kind of generic. It wasn't anything special. Last Guardian, however, this is part of the Eco Shadow of the Colossus series. Shadow of the Colossus is one of my favorite PS2 games. I really like this one. It's just kind of like... It's an adventure game. You're progressing through environments and you're trying to get the Guardian, which is like a dog griffin thing, through the environments. Kind of interesting. Definitely worth checking out. Well, you don't need to see the rest of it. It's The Last of Us Part 2. I know a lot of people didn't like this one. I understand why. The gameplay is fun. it's the story that people have an issue with. A very specific moment. I enjoyed it, but I feel The Last of Us should have just been a one and done game series. They didn't need to completely like. I don't know. I felt this one hurt more than it helped. Speaking of hurting more than helping. Yeah, Lego. So, I'm not going to get into every little game. Like, they're all pretty much the same. Like, if you've played one Lego game, you've played them all. I actually never saw the movie, and I really liked this. I still need to get a couple of them, but this is another one of those game series where they release so many of them, you kind of get burned out. The only one that I'm going to talk about real quick is Dimensions, because that was chasing that Toys to Life craze with like Skylanders and Disney Infinity. It didn't need to have this could have just been the game itself. I didn't need I didn't need to have to buy toys. I very much like the game though. I wish it just didn't have that aspect. I don't want to have to sit there and play with toys at the same time. I want to just sit there and play the game. It's still fun. I found it for like $20. Like all the Lego games you can find cheap. Like I don't have any problems with any of them. They're all good. It's more so of what franchises do I want to play? Do I want Batman? Do I want Star Wars? Do I want Marvel? You know, I'll take them all. Some of them I don't care for as much as others. Like, I'd say friggin' Harry Potter and Indiana Jones are probably some of my least favorites. Not that there's anything wrong with them. Just, I don't know. I don't think they fit the whole Lego. They didn't fit as a Lego game like others did. I like Little Big Planet. It is kind of a shame that this was kind of the end of it. I mean, there was one on the Vita and one on the PSP, and we did get Sackboy's Big Adventure, which is not the same as this. These were big about creating your own levels, and it was really Mario Maker before Mario Maker, and I feel these are a lot more. You can do a lot more with these than you can with Mario Maker. You know, that's much more simplified so anybody can do it. But there's some crazy shit in these games that people have done. Like, I'm impressed. I don't have the patience to want to sit there and create levels with a complex system like that. Lumo, just look up videos on YouTube. It's a very weird game. It's a very low budget game. I fucking don't even remember it, to be honest. So I'm just gonna move on. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I like the third one's my favorite. This one, it felt kind of weak because mainly because they took out a lot of characters. It felt lacking in comparison to the previous ones. I'm trying to rapid fire some of these because this is already going to be like an hour-long video, so I apologize if I'm not getting too in-depth with these. Max, The Curse of Brotherhood. This is actually... it's still sealed. I got it for free as a game on Xbox with Games with Gold, and I liked it and I played through it. And then they released it physically, so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get a physical copy of it. And the whole point is you're trying to save your brother, and you get like this marker that you use to draw stuff to like solve puzzles and whatnot. I know there's another game that's similar to it, but I can't think of what it is. So I'm just gonna move on. But yeah, look into that one. That's a 2D platformer worth playing. Oh my god, that's dirty. I just saw the reflection of the dirt like everywhere. I'm like, what the hell? So aside from my dirty case, this is a remake of a PS1 game. It's just like a 3D action game. It still feels like a clunky PS1 game. It's weird. I wish they would have. I believe this one actually includes the original version, but but you have to unlock it. I wish they would have just did the second one as well to make it like the complete series. But and this also was remade on PSP. So this is like the second time that game has been remade and nobody remembers it. So, Mega Man 1 through 10, Mega Man X 1 through 8. That's not a Mega Man game. And a not Mega Man game. I like Mega Man. I grew up with him. I prefer the X series, which is right here. We'll come back to that. I like X4 is my favorite. Like I'd say X1, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are my favorites. 5 and 6 were okay. 8 was, or I'm sorry, 7. We don't talk about 7. 8 was better, but still weaker. But like, I would much rather play these. I like the upgrade system. I like the enemies better. The Mega Man games, the original 6. Once again, it's like it was a copy and paste because they all like blend together. Like if you showed me a screenshot of like 2 different games, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you which one's which. But then 7, I didn't care for 7 that much. I mean, it wasn't bad, but 8 I liked. 9 and 10, it was weird. 9 and 10 went back to the original NES style, and like 9 was like super freaking hard. But I mean, they're Mega Man. I'm not gonna get too in depth with them. What's not Mega Man is definitely this. It's obviously a Mega Man game. Or Mega Man ripoff. Spiritual successor, whatever. I got enjoyment out of it. I probably won't play it again. I did finish it. If you're looking for a Mega Man game that you haven't played yet, or if you're looking for a new Mega Man game and you haven't played this, well, you'll have something. I do have 11, but I have it on Switch because I got the like amiibo bundle with it. And then since I accidentally spoiled this game, I am not big into Lord of the Rings like at all. This is very Assassin's Creed like I did enjoy this game. It's got the whole nemesis system where like if an enemy beats you, they'll get stronger and work their way up the ranks, and I don't know. It's fine. It's a good game. Play it, I guess. I don't know. Now we're over halfway through. Mirror's Edge Catalyst. I don't remember this, like anything about this game. It's a prequel to the PS3 360 game, which I prefer much better. The first game, you were like, it's very like Call of Duty, Halo-esque, where the levels are like linear and like you pretty much go from point A to point B. This is more of an open world style game. Play the first one. This one is forgettable. Mortal Kombat 10 and 11. I hate that shine. Get out of here. I can center a little more. So, my first question is that Mortal Kombat 10L or XL or like whatever? I'm not big into fighting games like I said earlier, but I do like Mortal Kombat. I had the original ones back on the Genesis. And then I kind of skipped 4 through 8. And then I got 9. And then I got 10 and 11. I don't have 1 yet because that just came out. But I'm going to get that on PS5 when I do. They're Mortal Kombat. I don't know what more you want me to say about them. They're fighting games, very grotesque and over the top. Oddworld, new and tasty. This is a remake of the PS1 game. It's a 2D puzzle platformer. It's very weird. Like there was a lot of PS1 games that had like a steampunk theme to it, and this kind of does. I don't know. Oddworld is very weird. Ni no Kuni 2. I don't like the with both this and the first one. I don't like the theme or the kid anime vibe that you get from it. I don't know. It's too I need my games to be more serious. I mean, I like the gameplay. I haven't finished this yet. I was like 5 hours into it and I just stopped because something else caught my attention. I don't like the first one at all though. Like that's way too I can't do it. It's way too kid friendly for me. Speaking of not kid friendly. So get out of the way. So I bought the original back on PS3 and I got a couple hours into it, but I never finished it. Nier Automata comes out. Played through it. One of my favorite PS4 games. And so then I was like, okay, I want to play through the original at some point. So then Replicant came out and I bought this because it's a different version that we didn't get. And I'm currently playing through it now. It is a lot of running back and forth. Like, if you're going to get into the Nier series, do this one first. Only play this one after you finish that. Like, you don't need to play one to know what's going on with the other. But if you play this one first, it's probably going to turn you off before you finish it. This one is like, they took what Replicant did and improved upon it. So, yeah, I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. I like it. But I'm probably not going to play it again. I will play Automata again at some point in the future. Yeah, this game, it's... When you get into combat, it's fun. But there's too much just, walking around. It is I guess I could compare it to, Gears of War, where it's, a third-person cover-based shooter. But the problem is you spend so much time, walking around environments and just looking at stuff. This was an early game on the PS4, and it does feel like more of a tech demo. I don't recommend it. I like the story, but the gameplay is, not really there. And when it is, it's fun, but it's not that prominent. This is basically Fallout, but sci-fi. That's all I got. I like it. I didn't realize till I finished the game that there were multiple endings. I ended up being an asshole. Pac-Man World Repack. I never played any of the Pac-Man World games before. This is my first one. And I liked it, so I picked up the original on PS1, and I picked up 2 and 3 on the PS2. I played somewhat through 2, but I don't like it as much. This is my favorite one so far. It's a 3D platformer, but it's got fixed camera angles. It's a fun game. Recommend it. It's a mascot platformer. So, this was my first Persona game. One of my favorite PS5 games. It is a turn-based RPG, very anime inspired. I only have one complaint. Way too much dialogue. It's fucking 90 hours. And it took me almost 90 hours. And that was skipping some of the dialogue. It's insane. I love it. I recommend it. I probably will play it again at some point. But it's a monster of a game. And then this is Persona 5 Strikers. It's the sequel. It is not a turn-based RPG. It is a Warriors game, hack and slash. I like it more than the Dragon Quest Hero games, but it's a not one of my favorite warrior games. I'd recommend it, but it is one of those games that you have to play Persona 5 to understand what's going on. Raiden 5. This is another one of those shmup games. You know, you got a spaceship, side-scrolling shooter game. I think I said it earlier, they all kind of blend together for me. Like, you played one, you pretty much played them all. That's kind of hard to really, like, explain each one when they're all basically similar. I like Ratchet and Clank. This one, I wasn't super crazy about. I didn't like a lot of the changes they made. Like, Chairman Drek isn't even the friggin' final boss. Like, they went a different direction with it. I mean, it's still fun overall. I still recommend it, but I wish they didn't attempt this reboot. I wish they would have just made, like, Ratchet and Clank 7 or whatever number this would have been. It's a great game. Recommend it. But I recommend most other Ratchet and Clank games over that. Rift Apart was my favorite. It was a damn good game. All right, so here's the monster of my PS4 games. Resident Evil. I'm not gonna get into each one because I got a shit ton of them. Obviously, I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Revelations 1 and 2. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, I have all 10 games. I need to get Resident Evil 4 remake that like just came out like a few months ago. I'll buy it on the cheap. I like actually all of the Resident Evil games. For the most part. 5 was actually my first one. And I know that's very different. It's not a survival horror game, but I did enjoy it. That's the one that got me into the series. But 6 is probably my least favorite. That one I'm probably never going to touch again unless I decide to play with somebody. I actually really like the Revelation games. 0, when it comes to the old school style, like 0 is probably my least favorite. I don't know. I feel like every game is polarizing one way or the other. I don't want to say polarizing, but it's like the series is kind of like all over the place because it's like you got your first person shooters, or not shooters, but your survival horror shooters. I can't talk. Your survival horror first person games. Then you got like the weird like spin-off game. Then you got like your classic like fixed camera angles. Then you got that. And then you got like the remakes. Like, I don't know. I love the Resident Evil series. I wasn't into it back in the day, but I very much love it now. That's all I have to say about Resident Evil for now. Till I do a video about it at some point. So, Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I really I liked the first one. These two I don't care for as much. I do like them. They're basically like they, you know, Uncharted copied, or not copied, but it took inspiration from Tomb Raider, and then Tomb Raider was like, "Hey, we'll do that." So they're good. I recommend them, but I just like the first one the best. They are very much like Uncharted style games. But what's not Uncharted style games is River City Girls. It's a like 16-bit beat 'em up that you'd see on like Double Dragon or Battletoads or TMNT. I like this, but I did after a while I got kind of tired of playing it. I don't know if that was the game or me just not wanting to play it anymore. Like I felt like it dragged on too long. I'm actually like, I don't know what to say about this. The game should have, what they should have done was, instead of like remaking it with 3D graphics, they should have just done like artistic sprites or something like, to keep it true to the original, make it more artistic. I mean, this is fine. It does the job. Honestly, I prefer Trials of Mana. But, I mean, it's Secret of Mana. You can't go wrong with it. Shadow Complex. I actually really like this because it's a Metroid-inspired game. I believe the main character is voiced by the same guy that does Nathan Drake from Uncharted, I think. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. But this, you're basically like on an island where there's some kind of like military base and you're trying to find your way off of it. But in the process, you're finding pieces of the super suit that give you more abilities and whatnot as you progress through the game. Really recommend it. It originally came out on the 360 as a download-only game. But then Limited Run put this out, and I'm like, I have to have it. This is my favorite, one of my favorite PS2 games. It is basically a boss game. You just go find the boss and kill him. It's unfortunately, it's not like super in depth. The bosses are more of a puzzle than anything. I wish they would have made the environments more interesting to traverse rather than just kind of get on your horse and go. But I very much do like it. I love the desolate setting, how you're just in like an open world with like nobody around, and it's like, what happened? Who are these Colossuses? Like, I don't know. I did that. Shadow Warrior. I think this was actually like an old school shooter like Doom and Wolfenstein, but this is like a reboot. It's a third-person shooter along the veins of Doom and Wolfenstein and Duke Nukem. Song of the Deep. This is a Metroidvania game where you're in a submarine. It's made by Insomniac, but it was published by, I believe, by GameStop. Or was it published exclusively at GameStop? It is a very, like, artsy game. I highly recommend that one if you can find it. I'm rapid firing, but this is still going to be like an hour-long video. It's going to be over an hour. I love Sonic Generations. Sonic has been very back and forth. He'll have like one good game and then like 3 bad ones. This one is passable. Like, there's a lot of questions that I have with this game. It's like, why is classic Sonic in there? Why are we fighting clones of all the fucking popular villains? Like, it's like they just, let's throw it in. Let's throw what we can in there and see what sticks. South Park is like my favorite show. I love the Stick of Truth. I much prefer the turn-based combat over the grid-based combat with this. It's South Park. Like, you know what it is. Spider-Man. It's like the Batman Arkham games, but Spider-Man. It's an open world Spider-Man game. I don't know what more you want. It's good. Play it. The Spyro Reignited trilogy. I liked Spyro back on the PS1. It was probably one of my favorite platformers on that console because I didn't play Crash until after I played the Spyro games. I really like these ones. It is nice to see them. Like, the graphics are like really nice. And it's nice to see Spyro like return just like Crash did. I really wish they'd make a Spyro 4 game, but I don't know if they're going to because this game came out a while ago. Came out in 2018. I don't think we're going to get a Spyro game. A new one. I have not played the new one yet, but this, I actually really like this one. It is a Dark Souls-esque game, but you can't play it like a Souls game. Yeah, it was good. I don't know. This is one of those Telltale games where it's just like you choose dialogue as you go. I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was funny, but it's one of those games that you play it once and that's probably it. You don't really have a reason to go back and play it because you already know what's going to happen. Then you get into the Tales games. I still have to pick up some of the ones on PS4 like Vesperia and Symphonia and Arise. I'm like very... I love Vesperia, but I feel like, I don't know, I struggle to get into the Tales games. Like Berseria is a prequel to Zestiria. Most of them are standalone, kind of like Final Fantasy games. I didn't care for either of these ones particularly. They're good, but I don't. It's Tales. Like if you're into RPGs, you probably know what they are at this point. The Sonic racing games. This is the third one. This seems to be kind of polarizing online, or not online, but yeah, you know what the next game is. It's this is a team-based game. If you're playing with AI, you're probably gonna get your ass kicked because the AIs are dumb. This would be fantastic if you actually had a full like group of friends to play with. Like I think it's up to 12 players. If you had like 12 people to play with, and you have people to actually communicate with while you're racing, it would be like a fantastic game. I mean, it still is, but this is one of those games that you have to have people to play with. Titanfall 1 was great, but it had no story mode. This, I really like the story in this. Like, this is everything this first game should have been. Not that there's anything wrong with it, aside from a lack of single player, but this was just like bigger and better. And I'm so disappointed that there's no Titanfall 3. There's no reason why there shouldn't be, other than EA. This is a must play, and it's like dirt cheap. We're on to the final stretch. Go sit. Tony Hawk 1 and 2. This is another one of those series. Like I really like Tony Hawk 1 and 2 on the PS1. But after 3, 4 Underground, I just kind of trailed off because, you know, you can only do so much with the skateboarding game. Granted, Underground added a story going forward. But realistically, Tony Hawk 1 and 2 are the must plays. If you know what Tony Hawk is, you probably know this exists and you probably have it or have played it. Transformers Devastation. This one caught me off guard because it's made by Platinum. So it's very Bayonetta, over the top action style game. And this one is, I didn't grow up watching Transformers, but to my knowledge, this is heavily based on the cartoon from the 80s. And it's actually good. Find it while you can, because this is probably going to be one of those games that becomes pricey in the future. I'm guessing. Trials Fusion, Trials Rising. Rising, I don't care for at all. Fusion, this is like modern day Excite Bike, where it's very physics based, and you just got to get to the end of the level. But they get so difficult. You're literally driving up like 90-degree walls at one point, and it's like the people that do those later levels are like seriously skilled. Like, I don't understand how they do it. I highly recommend Fusion. Rising, only play that if you like the others. There's nothing wrong with it. It's very grindy though. That I remember. You have to grind XP in that one. That's why I didn't like it. Trover Saves the Universe. I do not have PlayStation VR. You do not have to have a VR headset to play this. This game is solely about the dialogue. If you watch Rick and Morty, you're gonna enjoy this game. The fucking humor is so stupid. Just go watch YouTube videos of it. You'll know what I'm talking about. Typo Man. This is a 2D platformer where you have words on the screen that you have to rearrange to solve puzzles. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, yeah. I remember. So, you can see here where it says rain, and then there's like a D. If you move the letter D over next to the word rain, it'll turn it to drain, and that lake below will drain. So you very much have to, like, use the letters to, like... That's getting blurry. You have to use the letters in the environment to solve the puzzles. That was put out by Limited Run, if I remember correctly. Yes. It says on the back. Uncharted 4 and The Lost Legacy. Uncharted 2... That's getting really blurry. Hold on. Uncharted 2... I like the first one. Second one was better. Third one was okay. And when the fourth one... Like, when the second one came out, that's one of those games that you're like... There's no way they're going to make a game better than that. But I think 4 is like the best one. Like, I don't know how they've made it better than the second one, but that one's amazing. And then Lost Legacy, it's okay. It's just more Uncharted, different characters, very short, kind of forgettable. This is like a Telltale game, kind of. The whole point, like, you make choices throughout the game, and you have to make them on the fly a lot of times. And you got to try to get... It's one of those, like, classic horror stories where, like, there's a bunch of college kids up in a cabin in the woods, and you got to try to get them all to survive. And the choices you make on the fly will determine whether they live or not. I managed to get to the end with only one dying, and it was, like, at the very last minute. This game, Watch Dogs, was kind of disappointing. I mean, it's a fine game. It works, but it's just... It was supposed to be this big interactable environment like GTA. This big GTA world with interactable environments. That's what I meant. Where you could, like, hack into everything and do all this crap. But it felt kind of dumbed down from what they were. Like, they promised big, offered little. That's basically how it was. Alright. Wolfenstein. I don't really... Like, I liked Wolfenstein 3D back in the day. But Doom was better. And then they went to reboot this, and it's fine, but I like the alternate reality where it's like the Nazis won and took over and all that crap. But it still has... I think it still takes place... Yeah, like this one takes place in, like, 1960. I don't like games that take place in older settings like that. BioShock is another one that does that. There's nothing wrong with it, I just don't care for it. But this one is really fucking weird, because you get your head chopped off at one point, and you get put on another body. And then there's a scene with a pregnant lady that takes her shirt off and gets covered in blood. It's very weird and over the top. The Ease series. I highly recommend the Ease series. This is Ease 9, because it says 9. Play Ease 8 first. This one's good. The problem with this is you're stuck in a city for a good chunk of the game, and it gets kind of, I don't know, boring, because everything's like stone walls. But this is still a good game. It's a action RPG. Yakuza 0, that's the game that got me into the Yakuza series. It's a 3D beat 'em up. In a way, it's kind of like a spiritual successor to Streets of Rage. It's like what a 3D Streets of Rage should have been. And I do have like all the games. I've only played through I only played through 0 and the first Kiwami, which Kiwami 1 and 2 are remakes of the PS2 versions. I just don't want to sit there and play them all back to back. That's why I've only played through 2 of them. I'm kind of like spacing them out. But I do I do want to get to this one because of how over the top it is. But I'm not gonna play that till I finish the rest. So once I played 0, I was like, I'm in with this series, so I just snagged them all up. Then we get to the last game I have, which is Yooka-Laylee. This is the spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie. And it's good, but it's not as good as Banjo-Kazooie. I'm sure some people would prefer Yooka-Laylee over Banjo-Tooie because Banjo-Tooie is a thing, to say the least. But I'm not talking about Banjo, right? I'm talking about this. I don't know. It only has like 5 or 6 worlds, but you can like expand on them and make them bigger. So they're bigger. If I recall correctly, they're bigger than the worlds from Banjo-Kazooie, but there's less of them. But that's kind of lame because it lacks variety. But this is pretty much in every way, shape, or form Banjo-Kazooie. I mean, the box art is even reminiscent of the Banjo-Kazooie cover art. And that's that. Let me know what some of your favorite PS4 games are in the comments. I thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.